Well, David, tell us where you and your wife Allison were at when you got a hold of the Angela Calla mortgage team.
Well, basically, we had started the process of maybe looking at getting our own place. Basically, I live with a really good friend of mine and his girlfriend. We share the rent on a two-bedroom, relatively large condo in Port Moody. And, four people and 1,100 square feet, that's a little too much. It was had reached its best before date. So they were looking to move closer to downtown, and we were looking to stay in the Tri-City area. So basically, we started looking and basically came to the conclusion that, without that four-way split on rent, the costs start to escalate, and it basically worked out to get a nice one-bedroom den place in the Tri-Cities was almost the same as purchasing a unit in terms of mortgage versus rental costs. So that led us down the path to let's see what we can get a pre-approved for on a mortgage, and let's start looking for a place. And that basically led us to, having listened to the mortgage show before, the first place I went to for pre-approval was the Angela Calla mortgage team.
You're a first-time home buyer, but it's not foreign to you, the issue of numbers. You were in the financial industry. Even so, the process was reasonably easy and simple and quick with the Angela Calla mortgage team?
Yes, it was. In another life, I was involved in the financial industry, and I had a very good understanding of numbers and interest rates and terms, and especially, that depending on the incentives of who you're dealing with for your financial products, you may or may not get as good service as you think. For example, the bank has their own interests at mind and may not have the right products or inclination to present the right products to you, depending on a given scenario. So knowing that, someone that's more independent and transparent is usually the way you want to go, because they're looking at the whole industry for your financial service versus just what that particular institution offers. And I felt comfortable going to the mortgage team for that reason, in that they'll have a better view of different products that they can present to me versus the limited scope that you may get with a particular financial institution.
I know that Angela came up with a variety of options for you and your wife, Allison. Basically, it was a mortgage plan, and in that plan, there were some savings down the road.
Yes. So we looked at a couple of different options. The key thing that Angela was very good at explaining this to me and making me understand what the difference is between different mortgages available from different institutions. And one key thing was the ability to have the mortgage be portable and limit or eliminate as many fees and penalties that you can have in a mortgage depending how it's structured. Particularly, certain banks and certain institutions have fees built into their mortgage that make it so you don't want to transfer it, or you don't want to try and remortgage to a different institution further down the road. Whereas, as a first-time home buyer with a 3 to 4 year plan to own the place, you want to have some flexibility in order to move your investment somewhere else or make changes depending on what happens in your lifestyle. And that was really important to me. In addition, the ability to, if you have the money available, to pay more into your mortgage. Let's reduce that principal and not pay as much into interest, which, based on the plan that we selected, we're getting a lot of money per year on our principal versus interest compared to other options that were available.
I love the fact that Angela and her team were able to arrange for you a portable mortgage. This is your first home, and congratulations, you basically moved back home.
Yes. One of my key objectives in this, while there was other options for less expensive properties in other areas in the Lower Mainland, since I moved here, I've always lived in the Tri-Cities. Specifically, I've been in Port Moody the last 10 years, but my parents had a place in Coquitlam in Westwood Plateau, and it was one of the areas that we shortlisted to try and find a place. Again, it's not too busy with traffic, there's amenities, it's very nice, and it's relatively quiet. And that was one of my objectives going in, is I'd like to stay in an area that I'm comfortable with and that I know, yet is still close to where I need to go for work. And for Allison, she's at Simon Fraser University, so again, her commute would be pretty short as well.
Did it take any convincing to get your wife over into the Tri-Cities? She's a North Shore girl.
Well, when she decided she wanted to go back to Simon Fraser to complete her master's, it's a lot easier to come from the Tri-Cities than from the North Shore, so it didn't take too much convincing to have her move in. She just needed me to make room for her things.
Now, Rob Boyes, our resident real estate expert with Royal LePage. We're going to be talking with Rob in the next segment of the Mortgage Show here at CKNW. He was instrumental in finding that home for you.
Yes. Again, we're first-time home buyers. I mean, you can do as much internet research as you want and, have a financial background or not have a financial background and, be into business and read all the business magazines and keep into that. But having someone that is a professional and understands, A, the area that you're looking for, and B, the market as a whole is super important. And someone that has the patience and the time to go with first-time home buyers who are going to make mistakes and are going to be indecisive. And I'm sure Rob was pulling his hair out once or twice with some of our lack of knowledge and indecisiveness, but he helped us through the whole process. And I think that's super important for people, and that if you think you don't need a real estate agent, that's probably the number one sign that you need a real estate agent.
Well, don't worry about Rob losing a few hairs. He's got a good head of hair on him, so he can afford to lose a couple here or there. What advice, David, would you give to people who are listening to the radio program tonight who, in your position, fairly knowledgeable, or if they don't have the knowledge of numbers but are first-time buyers looking to get rid of any type of a tenancy agreement where the rent is paying someone else's mortgage, what advice would you give to them?
The first piece of advice, and this is probably the most important, and this goes back to my financial background, is even if you're not great with numbers, there are people out there that are resources that are and can explain it to you properly. And the Angela Calla mortgage team can sit down with you when you're looking for your pre-approval and kind of go through with you the basics of the whole process and what numbers are involved. This is even before you've gotten into the heavy-duty numbers of you're approved for this much or that much or this much down payment. When I first spoke with them, they were able to basically say, you're a first-time home buyer, this is how the process works, this is what's involved, this is how we go forward in a no-pressure, we're just here to give you information kind of environment. And information is the most important thing for you to make your decision. And once you have that information, then you and your family can say, okay, this is the path we're going to go down, or no, we're going to go down this path.